Good afternoon, boys and girls. Welcome to the 20th episode. We're already on episode 20 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you today on Facebook Live. And as usual, I think we should start by smelling a perfume on this Friday afternoon. I will just go onto my tablet and make sure that this broadcast is actually coming through to you. Apparently, Persolaise Perfumes is live now, so that's good. As per usual, I will do my hellos in a bit, but I think we'll start with this one. A brand new release. How am I holding it? Can you see that? Brand new release from Guerlain. Well, I say brand new. I think it counts as brand new, fairly new. I actually received the sample of this right at the start of the summer or in mid-July. And as you can see, I haven't even unsealed it yet. I thought I would wait for an opportunity such as this, and this is the third in their Oriental range. Their second Oriental range, because they had an initial one which was in their more exclusive bottles, and I'm not entirely sure what happened with that one. That one had Songe d'un bois d'été, quite good perfumes actually, I seem to remember. This is from the current Oriental range, and I think you've got a bit of glare there from the bottle, but they are in the bee bottles without the engraved bees. The first one of these, many of you will know, was Santal Royal, which I really didn't care for very much at all. And then the second one, Oud Essentiel, unless I'm mistaken, we actually tried for the very first time here on an episode of Love at First Scent. And that one, as far as Arabian ouds go, was pretty decent stuff. I'm not sure it reinvented the wheel. And so now we have, appropriately enough, a musk. And I'm always a little bit nervous, as I may have said before, with trying a new Guerlain, because even though there may be lots of things that die-hard perfume enthusiasts might like to change about the house, perhaps the number of releases that they churn every year, we are still fond of Guerlain as a house, I think. There's no question that Thierry Vasser is a talented perfumer. I think that goes without saying. And they have given us some very good stuff in the last few years. But they've also given us a lot of fillers, and I suppose that's because there's a ton of pressure on them to deliver the goods, to give us umpteen flankers of Petite Robe Noire and lots of flankers of L'Homme Idéal. I'm sure there are also going to be lots of flankers now of Mon Guerlain, and you kind of have to strip all of that away and get to the good stuff. Thank you very much for the comments that are coming through, by the way. I promise I will... Oh, look, I've already ruined the bottle I've taken. Well, not really. I promise I will read those as long as my tablet doesn't let me down. Let me just actually press to make sure I get the comments. Are the comments going to come through? I think so. I hope they don't disappear like they always do, so if I miss a comment, please forgive me. Anyway, this is Musc Noble, or Noble Musk, I suppose. New from Guerlain. Please let it be good. Okay, here we go. Shall I pop that there on top of the Diptyque, ruining the whole display? Okay. Yeah, so far absolutely fine. It doesn't make me run for the hills like the sandalwood did, the Santal Royal. My chief problem with Santal Royal was that it just used such massive, huge doses of the sorts of synthetic sandalwoods that don't really actually smell like sandalwood anymore and just plain stink. Although, having said that, I do know that Santal Royal was extremely successful, so go figure. But this is quite musky, but it's also very spicy and very rosy, and has, so far anyway, at this stage, a really great saffron note. Saffron is hard to pull off. I love the dryness of saffron, but sometimes it can actually be taken way too far, so that it becomes too austere, too rasping and dry, and we tend to see it employed a lot now in your traditional, in inverted commas, Arabian oud scent. Now this one doesn't have an oud feel to it, but it does have this saffron note. I'm thinking a little bit of, do you remember calligraphy? Was it called perfume calligraphy that came out from Hermès a few years ago, and then they did perfume calligraphy rose and perfume calligraphy saffron, I think. Very, very good, strong scents, quite pricey. This has got that kind of feel to it, and there is almost a kind of gourmand, eggy custardy quality to it, not unlike Saffron Troublant from L'Artisan Parfumeur. And I need to check, actually. I don't know whether Saffron Troublant is still part of their current range. But this is... And actually, do you know what it makes me think of as well? It makes me think of Traillis, beautiful, gorgeous Bertrand Duchaufour fragrance for Nila Vermeer Creations. And it's really strange because I seem to remember that when I wrote about Traillis, I said that it kind of had a Samsara feel to it, Guerlain Samsara, in the sort of fuzzy, velvety sandalwood dry down. So basically, this is causing me to have a major perfumery geek out here because it's a Guerlain that reminds me of a Nila Vermeer that reminded me of a Guerlain. But it's very, very rich. It does have a kind of fruity quality to it that the Traillis had as well. Maybe it's the fact that it's a kind of fruity aspect of the rose that's coming out. But no, and as it's progressing and warming up, it's nice work. And good colour, actually, because there is something deeply wine-like crimson about this. And I would imagine it's on a heavy base of musks, which probably will come out more on skin, which is a good time to say, don't forget that trying perfumes on paper is only one side of the story. You need to try them on skin. Don't forget that what we're doing here is just an initial impression, and perfumes do develop over time, which is why I always do a blotter update a little bit after the initial broadcast to tell you how the blotters have done and how the perfumes have progressed. And please do read those, because sometimes they do change a lot. For instance, last week when we did this, I thought the Gucci that I tried got so much better on the blotter as time passed. But this is nice. This is nice. I will just I don't have a huge amount of press stuff on this. Is there almost like a raspberry note or something? It is intriguing. I do like this. I think it's got Madame Persolaise's name written all over it. Before I get to your... No, actually, I will do your hellos now, because I have a feeling that if I take this off my tablet, I'm going to lose all the comments. So... Joe says, hi Persolaise, which Serge Lutens is that? It is Participe Passé, and I will do it because following last week's video, I had quite a few people saying, please can you do that next week? So definitely that is coming up. Have you tried it, Joe? Thank you very much for tuning in. Sandra says, so happy to see you. So happy to be seen. I wish I could say so happy to see you, but of course I can't see you, but I'm very, very happy to read your comments. Angeline, hello. Hello right back at you as well. And Yale, didn't forget this time, hello from Frankfurt, and hello from the south of England. Thank you very much for tuning in. Adam says, hello everybody. And Adam, actually, you were one of the people who said, please can we do the Lutens? So thank you very much. We will do it was you and, I hope I don't mispronounce this, I think it was Breezy Fragrance on YouTube who said, could we do the Lutens? So we will. Joe, Calligraphy Saffron. Yeah, thank you very much. I thought it was. And Yale says... saffron, good news, I love that note. Without oud, sounds great. And yeah, so far. And my mum says, congratulations on the 20th presentation. Yeah, I have no idea how we've already got to 20 episodes. Maybe it's because we've done 19 before. Maybe that's how you get to 20. I don't know. Susan waves, so everybody, wave at Susan. Yale says, must try this ASAP. And hello from Belfast says Stephen. So hello everybody. I really do appreciate the comments, by the way. The interaction makes this much more enjoyable for me because I don't feel like I'm just spitting this out into a vacuum. But before I formally say hello, this is the longest, most drawn out hello. Let me just tell you the very, very little that I've got about this. Where did I put the little notes? After Santal Royal and Oud Essentiel, Guerlain Master Perfumer Thierry Vasser dreamt of Musc Noble, wish we could all dream like Thierry, a tempting fragrance that becomes one with skin before writing its stirring composition. Of course, now, unfortunately, I'm reminded of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein and the fact that she apparently dreamt the story as well, but perhaps the comparison ends there, because this isn't a Frankenstein at all, at least not so far anyway. The sensual hero of this fable, mysterious, warm and powdery musk, haloed in a sensual breath of deep rose, the spicy leather-tinged effect of saffron, and the verticality of cedar wood. I wonder if they mean as in verticality that it runs through the entire composition, through the entire formula from top to bottom. The verticality of sandalwood. Verticality of cedarwood. Did I say sandalwood first time? Anyway, cedarwood, okay? Verticality of cedarwood. Are cedar trees particularly straight? And which elevates this fragrance to the apex of emotion. Okay, that is yet to be proved. Nice work, and definite reminders of the Nila Vermeer and the L'Artisan Parfumeur. So nice one. I think that will be heading in the direction of Madame Persolaise. She can add it to her Oud Essentiel, which she really, really likes actually. She wore a lot this summer. And I suspect she will like this one too. So let's just have a little bit of a reshuffle here and pretty things up a little bit. Can you still see that there? Is that okay? So, deep breath. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to the 20th episode of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, today on Facebook Live. If you are watching live, please do leave a comment, ask a question, interact in some way, interact with each other. If you feel like asking one of the other viewers a question, by all means do so. Verticality of cedarwood, how priapic, says Gavin Lambert. Okay, let's go for a third good adjective there. And Yale would say, would you say the cedarwood is natural? Do you know, at this stage, the cedar isn't even particularly coming through. But there's every possibility and likelihood that the cedar is natural, because cedar is not... It's kind of one of the cheaper perfumery materials. And the derivatives that you get of cedar wood are pretty good as well. So, yeah, I'm quite happy to accept that this has a suitably natural smelling feel to it. I'm not particularly struck by it smelling overly fake, Yale. But please give me thumbs up and hearts and things like that, because all of those go a very long way. If you are watching after the live broadcast, then still please feel free to leave a comment or ask a question, because I usually get around to all of them. And the usual drill, a lot of you will know by now that, oh, there's some hearts coming up, or maybe they're there. The hearts are going there on my screen. Oh, look, thumbs up going up. Can you see them as well? After the live broadcast, I upload the videos to YouTube. So if you are watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Please subscribe to my channel. Please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you think that the video is absolutely atrocious. I do get the odd thumbs down, which always makes me think, what did you not like? And leave a comment, because I try to get to those comments as well. There is a classic scent coming up later today, and that also is as a result of a request from somebody on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it was, so we will get to that in due course. But I think maybe we should do the new Lutens, which is obviously, as it's new. Hang on, let's do this properly. Can you see that? Le Participe Passé, which I'm told does translate into what it sounds like, past participle, which is a very, very telling name. This isn't an initial sniff for me now. I've smelt this a few times. I've worn it a couple of times. But anyway, let's spray some on a blotter right now. What do we make of the new Lutens look, by the way? And by that I mean the look of the bottles. Have we already had this discussion now? Because I know that the bottles, in terms of their shape, Gavin says, did you smell Bourreau de Fleurs? Which one's that? Is that from the, is that a Lutens? Is that from the new Gratte-Ciel, the skyscraper range? Or not? I don't know. The shape of the bottles is the same, but the label covers up a lot more of the bottle, and the typeface is larger, and I think maybe a bit more attention-seeking, maybe a little bit less Serge. I wonder if the bottles feel that they need to compete on the shelves with other bottles. Oh, Gavin's answering my question now. The top line, Executioner of Flowers. No, I haven't tried those. Those crazy expensive ones, like some of them actually go for £450. So no, I haven't tried that one. Good name though. I like that. Thank you very much. See, I always learn something from you as well, because I hadn't even heard of that one. Yale says, gosh, as a French teacher, I should use it during class. Yes, everybody should use the past participle in their next French lesson. But past participle is a telling name. Gavin says that one is a really heavy immortelle. I am intrigued. Why is past participle a telling name? Because this is quite strong stuff, by the way. Already getting sweet labdanum, but I'll come to it. Because I think it's fair to say that Lutens, when he first came on the scene with his perfumes, got a name for himself as being Mr. Oriental. He played on the Moroccan connection very strongly, he played on the Marrakesh connection very strongly, and he became very much known for some of the perfumes that are still amongst the most successful in his line. Ambre Sultan, Musc Noble, big, bold, Oriental style compositions. Even Féminité du Bois has got a strong Oriental Eastern feel about it. And then in recent years, it was almost as though he wanted to leave that style behind to make a different sort of statement. And then we had the first of the O, the very, very synthetic, strongly incense-based and yet still quite clean, sharp, pure scents. And in recent years, even the ones in the signature line, in the main line, and I'm thinking of things like L'Orpheline, Religieuse, became quieter, much more pared back, much more toned down. What was the latest one? Dondelé, I think that's what it was called. Milk Teeth. Again, it almost felt like a sort of perfume version of Johnson's baby shampoo. It was interesting, it was intriguing, but in this sort of metaphorical drive back towards his childhood, the fragrances lost their heaviness. And now comes something which will really, or should really, appeal to fans of classic, old-style Serge. And so that's why I say the name is very telling, because it is like the past participle, this perfume. This could stand right next to the likes of Ambre Sultan, the likes of Musc Noble, the likes of Arabi, that sort of scent, because it is big, it is loud, and it takes up a lot of space, which is, I guess, another way of saying big, but you really feel its presence in the way that I don't think you do with Ambre Sultan. Ambre Sultan has a beautiful radiance, a gorgeous sillage, but this sort of sits in the middle of the room, and when you wear it, the other day when I wore it, I sprayed some on clothes as well, and then when I sort of left that shirt in my room, it just felt like this wall of scent that was still emanating from this item of clothing, which is very different from the effect that Ambre Sultan has. And what is it? It is basically a very, very, very strong labdanum, with a lot of the smoky facets of labdanum, the really sticky facets of labdanum. You can imagine labdanum in this perfume as being a substance that sticks to goats. Stephen says, is it like Chergui? In a word, I think not, but maybe it's kind of like Chergui done, as though reinterpreted by steroid imbibing aliens. There is an otherworldly quality to it as well. It's almost like it's almost like you've moved so far away from the past that you have a vision of the past that isn't strictly speaking accurate. It's like a vision of the past that's distorted, where some of the more garish aspects of the past have been exaggerated. And it is almost pantomime Serge. It is almost melodramatic Serge. It's almost like he's sort of saying, fine, you want me to do stuff that I did in the past, well, I'm going to like dial it up to 11. It does have that feel to it, and it does have a certain crudeness to it, it has to be said. Because it is dialed up to 11, and it doesn't in any way allow you to ignore its presence. But that's also kind of part of its charm. It's almost as though with the more recent scents, he went completely one way and decided to be really quiet, and then he thought, okay, so you think I've lost my touch? Well, I'm going to surpass the ballsiness of things like Ambre Sultan and the musks and give you this. So it isn't going to be to everyone's tastes. The labdanum does start presenting the kind of powdery feel that you would expect from balsams and resins. There is a rosy facet to it. There is maybe a kind of beeswaxy thing happening in there, maybe something citrusy at the top. But it isn't particularly nuanced either. It is like this block that just says, here we go, old school perfumery, old school Serge. Maybe that's another reason why it's called Participe Passé, because you can imagine that maybe, when the ancient Egyptians made perfumes, they would have smelt like this. And it has got a sort of back to basics, let's not be too fussy about this perfumery stuff feel to it. Serge Lutens' press releases, I think we may have read some here before, are gloriously impenetrable. And I don't have the full press release for this one, unfortunately. I just have 2 lines. I have a quote from Uncle Serge himself. It just says, "Past moments that surge into the present have many scents. I have interpreted that which most evokes the past. Make of that what you will." And it's actually not even especially impenetrable, that line. I should also mention, many of you will know about this now, that there is a new range from Serge Lutens called Gratte-Ciel, which is really, really wonderfully easy to pronounce for people who don't speak French. I'm told that Gratte-Ciel means skyscraper, and I think it kind of almost literally translates as skyscraper. And what they've done, what the brand has done, is that they've taken a few existing and a few previously discontinued or hard to get releases from the other lines, put them in the Gratte-Ciel bottles, which are opaque black bottles, and also added one new one called, I really can't, I think it's called the unnameable, l'inommable. L'inommable, was that how you'd say it in French? Or l'innommable? No, it would be l'inommable. I don't know. The unnameable. And they are going to be priced quite a bit more than the signature range. For example, in the UK, the Gratte-Ciel go for £260 for 100 mils, which is pushing it. And I have had an initial sniff of that unnameable one, and that was pretty intriguing stuff too. I wanted to return to that as well. But yeah, see, there's a fruity element coming through here as well, almost in a kind of Féminité du Bois feel, which I guess, deliberately harks back to that. So the labdanum harks back to Ambre Sultan, the musks hark back to the musk. Bit interesting, but sure as hell ain't subtle. Let's see what comments people have been leaving. Oh, and I've been an idiot now, and I've probably gone and lost all of the comments. Somebody needs to give me a lesson on how to work out the technology of all of this. Oh no, maybe I haven't lost them. Or maybe I have. Yala says, I must try this ASAP. No, that was the old ones. So come on, hurry up, technology. Give me the current comments. Innommable, says Laura. Innommable. Thank you very much. Okay. Simon is waving. I can still just about see that. So waving back to Simon. Right, let's see if I can bring up what the latest comments are. This is so frustrating. It used to work better, didn't it? Oh, okay, here we go. Gavin and Susan having a conversation with each other about Immortelle, which is fine. Carry on. I answered Stephen about whether the scent is like Chergui. And Stephen says, worth going to try then. Yeah, I would say, though, absolutely. Is Christopher Sheldrake still Lutens' nose? Asks Laura. As far as I'm aware, yes, absolutely. And I think the relationship with them is still very much as it was, with as far as we know, Lutens giving the ideas and saying, you know, I want you to go off and make this, that, and the other for me, and then basically asking him to tweak it or whatever. And I have waved back to Simon. Thank you very much for tuning in. So how can it already have been 25 minutes? So we're 2 down. I would personally now like to move on to this one because I'm very, very excited to try it. I've kind of quietly left it here because not only is it a new release from Hermès, as you can see there, which is exciting enough in itself, but it's a new version of Terre. Easily one of the most successful masculine perfumes of all time, and rightly so. Terre is fantastic. A really modern, streamlined, spicy take on Vetiver, almost like a sort of more Vetiver version of Jean-Claude Elena's own declaration for Cartier, and Elena was the original author of this one. But it's Christine Nagel, current perfumer at Hermès, presenting her own take on Terre, even though Elena had done a few of his own as well. So that's exciting too. But the only thing that made me query it is if you query what it's going to be like, and made me sort of be a little bit dubious. Laura says, love Terre, especially on the hubby. Yeah, it's good stuff. It is good stuff, and it stands up, and it's aging well, and has aged well. If you see what it's called there, it's called Eau Intense Vetiver, and I thought, okay, so Terre with more Vetiver, and I did think to myself, is that really what was missing from Terre, a stronger Vetiver base? And Vetiver is, it's a very, very, very tricky material, and I don't know what you think of it, but I personally am not a huge fan of when, well, that's going to fall over. I'm not a huge fan of when towards the end of its development, Vetiver oil starts smelling quite sweaty and urinous. It kind of starts losing me a little bit then. I'm thinking, for instance, of Sycamore from Chanel. I think its opening stages are just beyond amazing. As Susan says, Vetiver, a little goes a long way with me. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. But Laura loves Vetiver unconditionally, so there you go. Sycamore from Chanel, which is probably, you know, if you're going to embrace the Vetiver thing, it is one of the best Vetiver scents out there. And as Stephen says, Vetiver eats up everything else. Yes, it totally does. The Vetiver sandalwood feel of Sycamore is fantastic, but as it goes along, it becomes more Vetiver, and it really starts pushing that back of the throat, for me, a little bit stomach-turning quality, which I'm guessing is what Frederic Malle really didn't like, because he really wanted to strip it away from Vetiver Extraordinaire for his own range, and to a great extent he does. Gavin says, is this the EDT of Sycamore? Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not over familiar with the new current EDP, and Laura says Sycamore wears down to a skin scent on me. Wow, really? Gosh. With me it actually becomes stronger and stronger. And Angeline says, I love the Guerlain version of Vetiver. Yes, so do I. But even that starts heading in that slightly over-metallic direction for me. So I'm hoping this turns out... Here's the bottle, by the way. No, hang on. Reflections. Can you see that? There you go. Pretty standard Terre bottle. Here, for comparison, is my own personal bottle of the Parfum version, which I really love. But anyway, I think stop chattering, Persolaise, and let's just smell this stuff. This is an EDP, by the way, Eau de Parfum, and we have a press release, and I do like Hermès press releases because they tend to be quite abstract and elliptical and tangential, but they never stop being interesting. I used to love the press releases for the Jean-Claude Elena scents, especially the Hermès, because they somehow managed to combine this... Oh look, we have bottle malfunction. Okay, here we go. They somehow managed to combine a really prosaic quality with a really, really flight of fancy quality. I don't mean flighty, I mean sort of fanciful, that's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, let's see what this is like. I really want this one to be good as well, because we've done well so far. We have to go back to the Guerlain in a few minutes. Come on, spray. Okay, here we go. The new Eau Intense Vetiver version of Terre. Is this going to work? Please stay there. Yes, right. Okay. And what I should say as well is that with this one, if it does have more of the Vetiver, we probably won't know until the very end how different it is from the original. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. Oh no! You can tell straight away. There's a lot more Vetiver in there actually. Oh yes. Gavin says, "Oh, intense, such a mixed message." Yes, if you take "oh" to mean that it's light, whereas I suppose it's just, this isn't an eau de toilette, it's not an eau de parfum, it's an intense water rather than a toilette. So I'm okay with that. I don't mind that one. I'll let them have that one. So okay, yes. Strong, bright citrus note, as we would expect with Terre. That cardamom feel as well is there as well. The cool spices. But definitely a more intense vetiver, which, do you know what, actually, Angeline, seeing as you mentioned it, this is making me think a lot more of the Guerlain, because the vetiver is right up front and centre in that as well. And it's got that, vetiver has a very, very strong licorice-like quality, a rooty quality, an earthy quality, a smoky quality, maybe even a touch of mintiness, green quality. Here it's quite licorice-like, and that sweatiness, for want of a better word, is coming through. So those of you who unconditionally love sycamore, you are going to adore this. I will need to try it on skin. Actually, just for the sake of comparison, as a sort of side by side, and I must make sure I have enough blotters. Let me spray the parfum of Terre, seeing as we're doing this, and I will make sure I don't get the blotters mixed up. I think it's safe to say that the Jean-Claude Eleanor one, it's a lot more subtle. There's the spices come through more clearly, but the whole thing is more balanced. To be fair to Hermès and to Christine Nagel, Laura says, sweaty licorice. Would you like to have the bottle now? Shall I just zap it over to you? And Stephen says, is it like khas? Yeah, which makes me think. I was in India not that long ago, and I didn't bring back any of the khas cordial, the syrup, which I should have. What was I saying? To be fair to Christine Nagel and to Hermès, they are calling it intense. They are putting the word vetiver in the name, so I guess they are doing what it says on the can and basically saying, look, this is Terre with a whole lot more vetiver. If you want the original, perhaps somewhat more balanced, more sedate, more serene version, then go for the original. And the original, or at least this parfum version, is cooler, and I mean that in a sort of temperature way, whereas of course vetiver is quite a warm smell. So yeah, interesting. Shall we do the press release? Where is it? I have a hard copy of this one. Okay, Hermès press release. Please say it's been printed properly. We don't need that bit. Do we need... Interesting picture of art. Okay. Terre d'Hermès. Touch Terre to offer a new horizon. Look at its universe with fresh eyes. Infuse a new strength into its signature. Okay? With Terre d'Hermès, Eau Intense Vetiver, Christine Nagel offers an original expression to the power of Terre, an intensity born of another point of view of a still unexplored territory of Terre that the perfumer creator has sought to illuminate. Fair enough. Gazing in admiration at Terre like a watchmaker fascinated by a mysterious movement, Christine Nagel observed Terre, examined Terre from every angle, with a desire to grasp its intimate mechanics. Then she deconstructed it, material by material, before reassembling it, rearranging a few components and revealing others. Okay, fine. Tell us more. Is that all we're getting? Okay, what we've got here, Vetiver, rooted in Terre since its origins, is the climax of this new composition. Rounded and warm, sensual and vigorous, it springs from the very first notes as if potentiated by the light of a burning sun. Yes, it certainly springs from the first few notes. Black pepper, another element of Terre, has become Sichuan pepper, bright green with hints of citrus. It invigorates the formula and allows the materials to melt into one another. Yeah, okay, maybe. It's definitely a pepper note in there. The bergamot orange, queen of Hesperidia, picked to special order and before maturity, brings surprising, radical and edgy qualities. Okay, radical and edgy? Maybe not. The description matches your shirt, says Angeline. Very good. Okay. Yeah, actually this could be a Vetiver shirt, couldn't it? You're right. If I could sort of reach over and tap like on your comment as well, I would. So somebody's done it for me, I can see. With this recomposition, the original equilibrium of Terre, woody and mineral, becomes woody and vegetal. Like Persolaise's shirt. Okay, yeah, I would say vegetal is perhaps a good description, and this is also somehow more humid, whereas the original is beautifully cool and dry, like, you know, sort of cold breeze rushing over a desert dune. This has got a more sort of tropical feel to it. Laura says, what does one need to imbibe before writing one of these press releases, I wonder? Come on, Laura, we have had ones worse than this. This one is actually trying to step by step go through the ingredients. It's not that bad, but yeah, I know what you mean. Oh no, hang on, we've got a poem, people. So here's a 4-line poem. Put on best poetry reading voice. A shift occurs. The horizon brightens. A star rises. I've just seen the final line. Okay, no, I need to be fair. Let's do this again. Serious. Okay. A shift occurs. The horizon brightens. A star rises. Men are beckoned to another Terre. Do you feel yourself being beckoned, all you men, with this totem? You can just imagine all these guys going, Terre, Terre, woody and vegetal, Terre, Terre, woody and vegetal. This vital, primal energy contained in the original bottle is exalted to its very cap, which takes on the warm brown of a leather tanned by the sun. I feel strangely beckoned by it. I may actually have to ask to be left alone with the bottle as it beckons me. Perfume Haiku, says Stephen. Yeah, except it has 4 lines. And Simon says, whatever. Do you not feel beckoned? So, anyway, no, this is... I will have to try this on skin because it's very Vetiver, whereas the original Terre was not just very Vetiver. It was lots of other things. Okay, so 3 perfumes down on this, the 20th episode of Love at First Scent. Laura says, hilarious though, especially played by you. Thank you very much. And please feel free to leave comments as you are doing and ask questions. Give me thumbs up, give me hearts and all of that kind of thing. And if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to ask a question as well or leave a comment. It is now time in the broadcast, which it's traditionally become now the 4th perfume slot, where we do our classic choice. And my thanks to, because my memory is awful, my thanks to Oh Yes, who watches on YouTube, for recommending this one. Oh Yes asked if I could do Vol de Nuit or the perfume that I'm about to do, and I thought, well, we've done a Guerlain, so I probably shouldn't do Vol de Nuit, save it for another time. So instead, and listen people, you have to join in now, because you have to tell me what you think of this one, because like with Kouros last week, I'm sure there is hardly anybody out there who has not tried this perfume. Mind you, which version of it you've tried is going to be interesting, because, yeah, well, we'll get to that. Today's classic choice is the one and only, let's hold it right, Miss Dior from Parfum Christian Dior. And look at how lucky Persolaise was a few years ago to get this old bottle. It says on the back, can you see that? Pour le voyage, which is great, made in France. I haven't been able to work out how old it is, but my feeling is that it's a 70s bottle. And when I opened it, I tried to open it, I decided to open it sort of at the bottom because I didn't want to break the Dior seal. Adam Kovac says, I haven't smelt Miss Dior yet. Well, I suppose maybe this is, and Yala says, love, this is as good a time as any to say, trying to smell, or saying that you've smelt Miss Dior needs to come with so many qualifications and caveats because it has been reformulated many times by Dior, and I have, quite literally, lost track of which version we're at now. I wrote it all down somewhere, and I think I even did a blog post on it, but you would need to go to people like Perfume Shrine online or Bois de Jasmin to work out exactly where we're at, because if some of you remember, there was a version, a flanker called Miss Dior Chérie, which was really successful, the one which was like a kind of strawberry popcorn one. Then that got turned into Miss Dior, and Miss Dior Chérie became something else. And then the latest version of what is meant to be this is now called Miss Dior Original, and we've got tons and tons of flankers. And actually, I think last summer, or was it 2 summers ago? No, I'm pretty sure it was last summer, another version came out, which again Dior said Miss Dior, needs to move with the times, and so she has changed yet again. Yala says, you're so lucky. Yes, I was very, very lucky to find this. And Gavin says, that looks like proper Miss Dior from the 70s indeed. Yeah, but proper Miss Dior from the 70s, even then, may not have been the same as proper Miss Dior from 1947, which is, of course, when the Saint first came out. It was the first Dior perfume, and it accompanied the reveal of what then came to be known as the new look from Dior. So Miss Dior, the original, was supposed to be a green floral, chypre. Who knows what it is now? And here's a confession. I'm doing it because OES asked me to, and I thought, yeah, I have a cool old bottle of Miss Dior, let's do it. But don't tell anyone else. But I'm not actually the world's biggest fan of Miss Dior. I mean, yes, obviously it's a great fragrance, but it's not what I think of when I think of my favourite Diors. So yeah, don't shoot me. Adam says, Dior and its silly names, right? J'adore, enjoy, joy, oh sauvage, sauvage, I know. And by the way, my review of the new Joy from Dior is going to be up on the blog a week today, Friday. Really, really great bottle though. Fantastic bottle. Let me see where I can hold it up. Why do I have so much reflection from the lights today? Can you see it there? Jake says, Persolaise, I reactivated Facebook to join this Love at First Scent live. Excited to be here from Montreal. You reactivated Facebook just for me? Zuckerberg, eat your heart out. Thank you very much. I'm really, really grateful. Let's try this. A little bit tricky to get the juice out because it's not a spray. But I say I'm not the biggest fan of it. Whenever I do smell it, I do think to myself, gosh, modern perfumery is really great, is really different. Yala says it was one of my first perfumes. I remember it from 1978, I guess. Wow. It's just a splash. We're doing Miss Dior. Yes, Jake, we are doing Miss Dior. I'm going to try and do this elegantly so that I get as little as possible on my skin so it doesn't affect what else we're smelling. But how great that, you had such elegant travel scents then with the gorgeous houndstooth design. Have I got enough? Oh, let's do a little bit more. I don't get loads on. Bear with me, people, while we do this. Okay, I think we've got enough there now. Should be trying it on skin, really. Oh, hang on. Angeline says, the one I owned and used up was an ancient version of the 80s. Loved it. Okay. And, we would need some kind of official Dior historian to take us through all the different versions. So, It is unquestionably a great perfume. Maybe in this one, the bottle is old. I am now storing it in a dark cupboard, a cool dark cupboard. But who knows how it was stored before I got hold of it. I found it, by the way, at an antiques fair in the UK a few years ago. But actually, no, it is still in pretty good shape. And when you smell it now and you think of, well, when you compare it with Joy, the new Joy from Dior, it has got, it is an intensely green chypre, galbanum green. So think green peppers and peas, that kind of thing. And it's got real personality. It makes you realize that perfumes for young women were allowed to be bold. They were allowed to be assertive. It has also got that old school perfumey feel, which is just a sign of the times, because when certain materials are used a lot in certain eras, like maybe a kind of powdery quality in this one, or a sort of very radiant floral quality that you might get from some materials like salicylates, they age perfumes in a certain way. Like, I'm sure with the passage of a few years, we will be associating those ghastly woody ambery materials with this part of the 21st century and masculine scents. And I really cannot wait for that time to come when people get fed up with those, because I wore another one of them the other day and it was one of the most intensely unpleasant perfume wearing experiences I've had for a long time. But anyway, perhaps I will write about it. So it does feel of its time. It couldn't be made now except maybe by a niche independent setup, and even then I think it would feel less, if it were made now, I think it would feel cleaner. I think it would feel more streamlined. I don't think it would be quite so buxom. I don't think it would be quite so curvaceous. But if it were made by a niche line or independent line, it probably would still have the same amount of attitude. Yale's left a comment, and Yale, before I lose it, because I see it says click to see more. Oh, this is so infuriating. I can't see the rest of your comment, Yale, and I don't know why, even though Facebook is assuring me that if I click on see more. Yale says, I wore it at the age of 12 and I think it shaped my taste. Well, yeah, not a bad way to start. Galbanum is there, very bitter, leather, and I can't see what else you're writing, which is just ridiculous. And we had this last week as well. So break your comment up into 2 or 3 parts, Yale, because I want to know what you're saying. And Jake says, perish the thought that people will one day cry out for vintage generic pour homme. Well, God, do you think that might happen? Or will we actually look back and think, thank goodness we don't have those anymore? Gavin says, what do you think are the most Miss Dior-like current niche fragrances? Oh, gosh, that's putting me on the spot. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But it reminds me a little bit of Mem. Is it Mem from Vogue? Which I'm pretty sure I reviewed on my blog. And also, and I never ever thought this until I tried it just now, there is something of its attitude and its volume, because it has got beautiful volume and real presence. There is something about it that suddenly made me think of the work that Liz Moores does for Papillon Perfumery, perfume setup that's only just a few miles west from me, and yet I've never been there. I need to go. Liz, if you're watching, we really need to arrange for me to come and see your perfume lab. She's really, really, really talented. The last perfume that she did, if you haven't tried her stuff, by the way, papillon, as in the French word for butterfly, look them up on my blog and then look them up on their site. I know that in the States you can get their work through Lucky Scent. Do check her out. Her last perfume, Dryad, is really, really worth... and maybe this makes me think a little bit of Dryad. And now the greenness... Actually, I'm rapidly changing my mind about Miss Dior. Maybe I do really like it after all. Missed a few comments. Angeline says, I think Serge Lutens' Bas de Soie has the same character as Miss Dior, as well as the colour. Ooh, I never thought that. I'd have to revisit Bas de Soie. I remember liking it, actually. And Susan says, I was going to mention Dryad. Cool, okay, so yeah, maybe we're both thinking along the same lines, and I'm guessing you know it. Do you like it, Susan? Because I really, really rate Dryad, and I also like very much Angelique from Papillon, and the others are really, really good as well, but I think Angelique and Dryad are the standout ones. I know lots of people like Anubis and Salome. Gavin says, I need to try that. Yeah, if we're talking about the Papillon, you do. So this bottle, it's got a really, really gorgeous, hissy, in the right way, green leathery quality. The moss is coming through. I'm sure it's... Susan says, I like Dryad. Good, so do I. There's probably a proportion of natural oak moss in there that we're not allowed to use anymore. Rightly or wrongly, I mean, we don't want to put stuff on ourselves as well that, is carcinogenic. Jake says Papillon rules. Yeah, definitely a perfume house to watch. But Jake doesn't like Dryad but loves the house. Fair enough, absolutely fair enough. So Miss Dior from 1947. This bottle, we suspect, probably from the 70s. Precious stuff. I also have an old Diorissimo eau de cologne, but that one hasn't lasted so well. Adam says, is this okay for men just like Mitsuko? Yes, come on, you're asking the wrong person. I will always say to you, just wear what you like. And if you feel that maybe you're uncomfortably coming out of your norms, well then, you know what? Challenge the norms and just get people used to men wearing Miss Dior. Why the hell not? Yale says, absolutely. I guess Yale, are you answering Adam? And especially nowadays, I think maybe, depending on where you are located geographically in the world, maybe some people might think that the slightly powdery quality isn't masculine, whatever the hell that means. But you're asking the wrong person, Adam, because I will always say, wear what you like, make it work for you. Should we just pop that on top of the Parle Moi De Parfum? How are we doing for time? Because I think we should just do one more. Yes. I'm always intrigued by how we kind of roughly manage to do something like 10 minutes per perfume. Very quick mention of this. I won't get the bottle out. This is the new Papyrus Oud 71 from Parle Moi De Parfum. I have got a whole video on the range on Parle Moi De Parfum, which is now on YouTube. So it's a sort of briefer version of these Love at First Scent videos because it just focuses on the one house. And this is their latest. And what's interesting about it is, some of you may be aware of this story as well. It's made by Michel Almerac, who co-founded the brand with his sons. Michel Almerac is the guy who made the 2003 Gucci Pour Homme during Tom Ford's days, that glorious, just heavenly, unbeatable mix of pink pepper and cedar and incense and amber. And then that was discontinued, sadly. And it came back in a very, very similar version as, I think, Bentley for Men Absolute, an exclusive Bentley scent, not available at all outlets. And he decided that as he's got his own brand now, he would like to bring it back for himself. And it's back. It's back in this version called Papyrus Oud, which is, and they make no bones about this, Gucci Pour Homme with a darker, woodier, more oud-like quality. And it is just so good. If you love the original Gucci Pour Homme, I still have a few drops left. But if you haven't, seriously, this will more than make up for the lack of that one. It's very, very, very good stuff. A few comments. Adam says, I'm wearing L'Heure Bleue now, and you smell amazing. There you go. And L'Heure Bleue actually has such a strong vanillic aspect. So if you can pull off L'Heure Bleue, you can pull off Miss Dior. Susan says, the older Miss Dior had some war animalics that would wear well on a man. Yes, absolutely. Jake says, you'll be fine then. Miss Dior is butch in comparison. Yes, yeah, completely. If you wear L'Heure Bleue, then you know, you'll be absolutely fine. So, what should we do next? Oh yeah, somebody asked me if I would do the Diptyque. And this is the new Eau de Parfum version of, too much French today, my jaw is not keeping up, of Trente-Quatre Boulevard Saint Germain. The Eau Toilette was released a few years ago, and it was supposed to be the smell of their shop. and it was a kind of nouveau chypre as well. And this is the Eau de Parfum. I do have to say, Diptyque do know what they're doing with packaging, even though, is that strobing for you now? Even though they may not always know what they're doing with perfume. Ooh, we like this, look. That's smart, I do like that. They still somehow haven't quite been able to shake off this lovely accent, says Laura. Thank you very much, that's very kind, that means a lot, thank you. They still haven't been able to shake off this sense that they're a kind of home perfume brand that happens to release fine fragrance. And that's really, really harsh, because they have done some really good stuff, and yet they still have this image. And maybe it's because they also do invest a lot in home scents. We like this. Was that... Your French is wonderful, says Yale. Oh, come on, now you're... That's very, very kind. I'm sure it's not actually that great, but thank you. I like this pouch. Is that why we had all of the hearts and things going up a second ago? Because we like the packaging. I do like the packaging, very much. And it comes with a little booklet. Booklets are good too. Let's see. Ooh, and I think we have an intriguing bottle. Look, the reveal. So this is a sort of darker version of the bottle for the eau toilette, and this is cool. We like this. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, I think you're getting a good reflection of it there. So very quickly then, let's look at what a mess Persolaise has made. Joe says Diptyque should have kept their Encens line. Yeah, but I guess what they do with those, I mean, they may come back, because I think they just look at whether there's been an interesting crop of a particular material, and they just look at it that way. Although I agree, some of those were really, really superb, and I think I did one of those here on Love at First Scent, didn't I? So, last one for today. Laura, top marks for presentation, but quid of the juice? Let's see. Ooh, metallic. Didn't quite work there. A satisfying click. Okay, it is like a stronger EDP version of the one that we had a few years ago. So it is turning into a spicy, almost aldehydic chypre, but again, maybe it's because we're conditioned into thinking this because it's Diptyque. You smell this and you think, oh, that would make a nice candle. You can never kind of quite get away from that with them. And that probably is a bit harsh. It has got a nice aldehydic touch, actually. Very, very sparklingly aldehydic. Joe says that bottle of Diptyque looks like that of Hommage back from 2011. You may be right. I can't remember that one, to be honest. But I do like the bottle. It is smart. Maybe a little bit Paco Rabanne. Probably not what they were going for. It's got almost a cucumber quality, like a saline aldehydic quality. And it's funny because we've just been smelling, Miss Dior, which is a very, very classic chypre. This is a sort of nouveau chypre in the sense that it is, like I was saying, what Miss Dior may have been like if it were made now. This is much cleaner, much leaner, much lighter, more citrusy, more legibly fruity. Yes, it's got woods, but even the woods are paler. But it's very pleasant, perfectly pleasant. I guess anything coming after vintage Miss Dior was going to have a hard time. And I'm pretty sure that... By the way, Yale, what was the rest of your comment, or did you leave it anyway? Because I'd hate to think that I hate you to think that I was ignoring what you were writing. And I need to find out why the Facebook thing on my tablet is just not showing the rest of comments. Now, I am pretty sure I had an extensive press release for this. Yes, I won't read it all to you. So they're saying that this is from the La Collection 34. Do you believe in chance? Starts the press release. This is a long press release. We're really not going to do it all because otherwise we would all fall asleep. Do you believe in chance? When we ask ourselves this existential question, all sorts of philosophical hypotheses, definitive convictions, and African proverbs bump up against each other in cerebrum. Yeah, I always think of African proverbs. What? Laura says, doesn't sound overwhelming in the vein of the last two releases, which I find utterly pointless. Oh, that's a shame. We also think of the testimony of Jean-Jacques, winner of the Euro Millions lottery. What, do we? Really? And Einstein's famous saying that God does not play dice. Until Paul Eluard's phenomenal pronouncement bursts forth, there is no chance, there are only appointments. Jake says, African proverbs. Yeah, I know. What African proverbs are they? Have I been missing out on some really good African proverbs about chance? Do any of you know them? WTAF, says Laura. And Stephen swiped from the right to bring up comments. No, I am getting the comments, Stephen, but I'm not getting the ones that say see more. But I will try that. I will try that when I go back from the press release screen. For Diptyque, these words that resound with clarity, no, they really don't, Diptyque, they don't resound with clarity at all, could summarize its entire history, punctuated with love at first sight, sharing, and unions. Is this just like dodgy translation? It is in this history, therefore, that chance plays a central role in the creative process. Eyes open, a receptive ear, a confident heart. What the hell does any of this mean? All dispositions that are not so much interested in the caprices of the imponderable as in the probability of encounters. Sorry, should we just do that again? All dispositions that are not so much interested in the caprices of the imponderable as in the probability of encounters. Gavin, what are you saying to me? Please say something sensible. Oh, Jake says, one day I hope to get to write these for a living. Yeah. And Gavin, when I think of chance, I think of Chanel. Good answer. Oh, I love my viewers. You don't know why they missed that one off. Yeah. For rather than the... this is getting better. For rather than the irrational, it is toward the favourable unexpected that we lean. The one that arrives when we ask for it, when we are open to all that is possible. It is an instinctive way of viewing the world and human ingenuity, the attention paid to the minuscule details. I am losing the will to live. Let's just find out what they're actually going to say about the perfume, La Collection 34. Yes, please take me to... This is the longest press release I've had for a while. So they're saying that in 2013 they had... Back to more mindless copy, says Peggy. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Please. Okay, here we go. I think we've got something about the perfume. Constructed around the woody accord of consoles, display cases, tablets, and counters that have been warmed by sunlight. Okay. It is built upon an exceptional sandalwood of Indian origin that brings it a velvety, intense base and an almost lascivious sillage, an explicitly oriental allure. I mean, I must confess, I'm not thinking sillage, but maybe a very gentle sandalwood, which is what you would hope from an Indian variety of sandalwood. Skunk is too cheap in Paris, methinks. Ooh, says Laura. And Stephen, I'm away to ponder my caprices. Oh no, don't go pondering yet. They're imponderable. There's no point anyway. Wait for a bit. Yale, I'm losing the will to follow their strange musings. Yeah. Madagascar vanilla, already present in the eau de toilette, enhances this sensation of envelopment before the arrival. Simple and short, it says, of tonka bean, with a high coumarin concentration. Almond, spicy, connection with cinnamon and clove, in brackets, desirable. The energy and freshness, question mark, they come from the pinch of pepperwood, trademark, and an entire handful of pink peppercorns. You can just imagine them going, yes. Pink peppercorns for an effect somewhere between fruity and floral, happy accidents that take the nose by surprise. But the description of the scent is accurate because it is kind of fruity, it is kind of floral, it is kind of woody, and it's actually pretty good. It has a kind of abstract, modern, woody sense with a sparkling aldehydic lift. Tonka Bean Absolute is already like 85% coumarin, says Jake. There is a lot of coumarin in it, but they've put more in, okay? Don't be nasty. They have put more in. It all comes in a heavy-bottomed smoke glass bottle with a black Bakelite stopper, carefully packaged in a box printed... Carefully packaged. It's like, let's not be slapdash with this one, guys. We really need to package this one carefully. pink unicorns. No, did I say unicorns? I meant pink peppercorns. I'm sorry if I said unicorns. Oh, God. I will need to rewind this to see if I said unicorns, but I meant peppercorns. I don't want to put unicorns into the mouth of Diptyque peppercorns, not unicorns. And then they're talking about their home scents and their candles, and geez, they've written a whole Diptyque novel. Oh, and matches, don't forget matches. And I think that brings us to an end of that press release. You will be pleased to hear. I do like this graphic though. Whew. Gosh. Right, let me see if this, I just want to see if this swiping to the right thing works. So, let me go back to a comment that said, click more. No, see, I know what you mean. I am swiping and the comments are coming up, but the entirety of the comments isn't, which is just most infuriating. Even when I kind of go portrait instead of landscape, it's just so annoying. Why can't you... Sorry. I know when I'll be able to see the rest of the comment when I actually just look at the video on a PC. Laura said, you said right, this is just sending me cheeky bonkers. And Peggy says, this may make more sense after 2 bottles of wine. Do you think? Just the 2? Right. So, we have come to the end of the 20th episode. Goodness me, people, you have been listening to me rabbiting like this for 20 episodes, but we're going to keep going. Why not? And ladies and gents, my mum says, now I wonder if I'm allowed to reveal... No, I probably won't because, well, let's say that my mum was connected with Dior. Very nice of you to mention Miss Dior. It's such a great perfume. Yes, it was. And Laura says after 2 bottles of wine I might not care about scents any longer. Well, no, that would be a nice thing. So thank you very much for tuning in. I will just smell the blotters one more time, but don't forget that I'll be putting a blotter update in the comments on Facebook and on YouTube as well at the bottom of the video. But please don't forget that you can still keep asking me questions, give me hearts and thumbs up and all the rest of it. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel and give me a like. Thank you for your episode, Sir Susan. No, seriously, thank you for tuning in, because if we didn't have people watching and leaving comments, then I would have probably stopped doing them by about episode 3. Gavin says, have a great weekend. You too. Let's have a very quick sniff. So, we started with the Guerlain, the Musk Noble. Laura says, thanks for another excellent episode. See you in the next one, says Jake. Thank you very much. Yeah, hope to see you soon as well. You do a great service for us. Well, it's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, everybody's writing now. Have a relaxing and wonderful weekend. You as well. Stephen says, thank you very much. Thank you. The Guerlain. Okay, the Guerlain has maybe become a little bit more obviously musky. That beautiful saffron note is kind of fading away. But what it is being replaced by is an animalic quality, which will probably be interesting on skin. So, definitely good stuff. The Lutens, the Participe Passé, really, really strong. And also shades of the Afternoon of a Faun from État Libre d'Orange, if any of you are aware of that one. Then we had the Hermès, which is really quite Vetiver-like now. It is Terre taken over by Hermès, and maybe a kind of bitter orange note in there as well. I think loads of people will actually like this, but maybe they're the people who maybe found Terre a little bit too subtle, a little bit too quiet, I don't know. And we've just had the Diptyque, which is fine. It's very, very Diptyque in the sense that it wants to maintain that kind of understated French sophistication. I mean, it's the complete polar opposite of the Lutens. But it's well done. It kind of displays a sort of imponderably capricious quality. Oh, Laura says one of the best État Libre. Yeah, I think so too. I love Afternoon of a Faun and Miss Dior. It's so good. It is really, really good. There's a kind of carnation, clovey quality coming through as well now. Really beautiful stuff. So, be good, boys and girls. Look after yourselves. Have a great weekend. Stephen says, lol. Wonder what it is you're lolling at. Could it be the capricious imponderability? Okay, I will probably see you for another one of these in a few weeks' time. I would imagine towards the end of September. Review of Dior's Joy, written review coming up on the blog this time next week. So farewell for now. Bye bye. Thanks for watching.